Well, hello everyone, and thank you for being here. I'm Arthur Bedell. I'm the co-founder of Connecting Dots and Payments, and I'm here today with Fernando Rodriguez Ferrer, who is the Deputy Director of International Expansion at Bizum. Fernando, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I'll let you explain a little bit more, like your trajectory, your journey, and who you are and what you do.
Thank you, yeah. So Bizum started almost 10 years ago. So I joined the company almost from the very beginning. So Bizum is a consortium of banks. So banks decided to leverage on instant payments almost 10 years ago, as I said. So this is quite a bold move for the banking sector because typically you need to cooperate with your competitors. So this was a very key moment for us because we need to ensure that everything we did, it was aligned with the interests of the whole banking community. So as I said, we started almost 10 years ago. So basically, our role in this is building the link between the phone number and the IBAN. So we ensure a more convenient way to send an instant payment. So we started very easily, just with the P2P, and we cover other use cases like donations to NGO, e-commerce, and hopefully next year we can go into POS. So as I said, we are the central company that helps the banks deliver the service. So we just ensure that all the banks that embed the Bizum service in the banking app, it's in a homogeneous way. So we build, we propose ideas, we make sure that we have the spark of innovation among our banks, and we need to ensure that everything we do is aligned with the interests of our shareholders.
No, it's extremely interesting. We see a massive trend of interoperability. Mm-hmm. Which, as you said, back in the day, people were just thinking about competition. So let's do our own thing. Let's not necessarily collaborate and partner with companies. And there are a few initiatives, Bizum being one that I think is extremely well known in Europe, starting to be also very well known in other regions of the world, probably because of your work. So thank you for this. But also, I look at Wero and their initiative and something fairly similar, which is how can I make all of the local schemes and local payment methods, be into one place. And I think Bizum is taking the same trajectory, which is lovely. So maybe let's start and dive straight in with part one, right? Which is Bizum's vision and European expansion. So as you said, you've been around for 10 years, right? What is the Bizum kind of vision for the next 3 to 5 years and the role kind of in the European digital payment, but not just digital, landscape in general?
Okay. No, I mean, we already got almost 30 million users. So we have a track record in delivering a really good service for our users. So in the end, where we seen is a huge evolve of the service during these years. So we started very lean, so trying to just focus on one single use case. So as we see us in 3-4 years is that we need to drive instant payments to the next level. This is the first thing. And the second one, I think it's key to deliver a link between payments and identity. So what I mean with the first one, driving instant payments to the next level. We already got instant payments for P2P, for e-commerce, for donations to NGO. But still, in order to be a complete and a full-fledged payment solution, we need to offer in-store payments. So this is a very competitive landscape. So we are approaching this with something called Bizum Pay, which will be available next year. And we are also, this is a complement to the banks that may offer this service again in their banking app. So it will be a shift for our users because now they will have two different options. So the Bizum Pay app and the banking app. So it will be an NFC based. Yeah. So we need to complete ourselves first. So deliver this POS use case. The other one is, as you mentioned, we need to foster instant payments at the European level, and interoperability is a really good enabler. So as we see it, this year is a key moment for instant payment. There is a regulation around that, instant payment regulation. So all the PSPs in Europe need to offer instant payments. So as we're saying, markets that maybe they didn't get the adoption as high as other markets, like for example in Spain, so they need to increase the adoption. And how they can do that? Just building their own solution, like we did in Spain years ago, like Wero is doing right now, or joining one of the existing ones. So this is one approach that we think it's key for instant payments to be fully available. And the other thing that we need to ensure is a level playing field. So there's another regulation, the payments, PSD3 and PSR. So we understand this is going to make sure that all the payment methods in Europe are at the same level. Because PSD2 was really focused on the car business, and now we understand the account-to-account solutions are getting their momentum. So this is also key for us, because today there are many things that still you cannot do with an account-to-account payment. Maybe we can get into that.
Yeah.
But there are some topics that, because it's not as mature as the cards, right? So still there are things like pre-authorizations, like variable recurring payments, like exemptions to strong customer authentication, those type of things. We are building them. Today. And the other thing about payments and identity, it's our Bizum Operate. So we enable the phone number as the key identifier for consumer when it comes to payments, right? So we are also hoping to launch a new service, which will be a digital identifier for Bizum. So I can log in or register on a website or on a merchant just using the phone number. The same way you pay with Bizum today, the user will choose which consent to give based on the data that the merchant is requesting from them. So this is the first step. And then the idea is to combine this login register with the payment itself. So you can do both actions in a very seamless way.
Oh, that's super interesting. So coming back to the first part, which was the omni-channel play, you're saying NFC, so like an experience very much like tap to pay, something very similar. I think personally, if I live in the US, right? And so when I'm there, like I don't do anything. Like I never take my card out. I go out without a wallet. So this is great. Second thing, you talked about the expansion. That expansion itself, if I understood correctly, are you trying to bring Bizum and say like you go to Italy and Bizum will now be a payment method on the checkout of Italian brands, like in Italy whenever locally there? Or is it more you're trying to connect to the Italian kind of networks and make sure that Bizum can be, if somebody pays, that Bizum can then be, used by a Spanish, individual in Italy, and then the merchant will be receiving a different type of payment?
No, that's it. So basically what we're trying to do now is to connect the dots, to connect the different peers in Europe that are similar. Right. So in the end, what we're trying to do is a Bizum user can travel to Portugal and can travel to Italy, and they will have the same user experience that they had at home. Right. So that's what we're aiming for. But in order to do so, we need to convince the rest of the European solutions in order to be interoperable. So this is where the magic needs to happen. But also, we need to understand that there are some markets that have not developed any solution yet. So what we're aiming is trying to get this momentum. So if we come up with a successful approach with the rest of our peers in Europe, then maybe we can convince to other markets that give also the move forward. So, but right now we're focusing on building this interoperability with the rest of our
creating an ecosystem. Right. Then what's going to be funny is in Spain you have that saying, hacer un Bizum, which I think you've gone into a scale where now when it becomes a word, instead of saying you have to pay with Bizum, you say hacer un Bizum. That is pretty cool. So I'm guessing the same thing might happen in other countries as well. Maybe in English to do a Bizum, but we'll see about this. It's kind of moving on, but next question is going to be around, the balance of Bizum, its local strengths, and the push towards a unified, European solution. Yeah. How do you see that?
Well, payments are very driven by cultural habits, so it's not the same. In Europe, we are united in diversity. So it does mean that in the end, we are part of the common market, but it doesn't mean that we have the same appetite or experience when it comes to payments or habits, right? So maybe when you go to, I don't know, for example, to the Netherlands, the way you send P2P is not by sending money, but requesting money. Or where you need to identify yourself, it's not through the phone number, but a QR code, for example, right? Yeah. So that's where we're trying to aim. So we understand we are different on each market, but we don't want to penalize the user experience that our users have, prefer at home, right? So maybe NFC is the way for us, for example, or QR might be the way for the Portuguese. So we need to ensure that when it comes to interoperability, that consumers need to find their preferred way to pay. So this means that we need to combine all the common elements that we have, and offering those that maybe they are not for the domestic users, but for cross-border transactions are needed, right?
What's going to be interesting as well, as you touched on it a little bit, but the way to pay is one component.
Yeah.
The other one is going to be the identity component.
Yeah.
When you go to different countries, like the identity component might change as well, right? Like in France right now, you have your digital ID, right? Like that's going to be something that potentially, you can use. Like, I don't know if it's already on your phone, maybe you can do something to make sure that like the identity is already there.
Yeah.
I can directly make a payment and you can have more certainty so the merchants may, etc. So that's one. In other countries, that might not be the same thing. So there might be, changes to the solution that need to be put in place to make sure that interoperability is not just on the payments front, but also taking care of the identity front too.
Yeah.
That's going to be interesting for me to see. On other local payment methods, right? We touched on it a little bit, but wanted to do a little bit of a deep dive. How does Bizum, I guess, going to play with them, right? Like play well, play nice, and make sure, that they're also happy to welcome you guys and create that connection and making sure that, Bizum can work in different countries with those relationships.
Yeah, you're right. So just briefly touching the identity part, we're trying also to focus on how it's delivered in the Nordics, for example. With Bank ID, it's like the common way to identify customers and citizens identify themselves. So we're looking like in the same way. So the data that the banks own about the customers, it could be the way. But coming back to the other question, how we see this. So in the end, each of our respective brands are the preferred brands in the respective market.
Okay.
So today, Bizum in Spain, Bips Mobile Pay in the Nordics, Blik in Poland, they are even in the top 3, top 10 brands in the whole market.
Yeah.
So today, payments is like the best way for banks to get the loyalty for customers. So where's the traction and the traffic comes from? Because in the end, it used to be mortgages years ago, but right now the payments are on the core of the banking transfer. So every time I access to my banking app, I just send a Bizum, I go Bizum, and this happens in Spain at least 50 times per year. So banks are getting a lot of traffic based on this type of daily payments. And today banks are pushing to have the customer at the heart of this type of transaction. So ensuring that the customer prefer their bank in order to link their account for Bizum, so they can have this relationship with them. So as we see it, so we have the brands. So we don't want to touch the brands. So the brands are the loved brands in every market. So maybe what we're trying to think about is those brands that could help identify the customer that we belong to a broader network, for example. As we see it is not trying to touch the user experience, as I mentioned. Maybe enhancing the user experience, giving more options, but not changing the way users prefer to pay. And the other thing is that we need to reduce the impact for our shareholders, for our participant banks. Because if we want to do interoperability, we will be leveraging the network infrastructure, the European infrastructure, TIPS, which is the rails that run all the instant payments, transfers in Europe. And that's the way we want to reduce the technical impacts for the ecosystem. Because as we see it is, we are just doing this interoperability with other markets. So we are leveraging on the rails. And what we're trying to do is build interconnection, connecting the dots with others based on the value-added service that we have. So we will be connecting among each other. And then all the banks that are part of each solution, they will be interconnected.
When I hear connecting the dots now, I just laugh. Like I get that one like so often. So I'm just like, oh, well, but I love it. No, like candidly. So if I'm hearing it well, which touches kind of on the next topic that I wanted to bring it on, Bizum is considering, I guess, expansion. And you guys are not just in Spain now. I think you're in Italy and Portugal, right? But considering expansion directly, but also, I guess, mostly through partnerships, right?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's right. So it's true that we are not only in Spain, but we are also in Andorra. You know, Andorra is a really small region up north of Spain. But the 3 banks in the market decided that in order to be competitive, they wanted to join Bizum. So for us, it's been key to prove that our service could be cross-border. So it's since 2022. And for the Andorran markets, it's been key because 40% of the transactions are cross-border for them.
Oh, wow.
So it's huge because there's a lot of people coming back and forth to Andorra and Spain. So I understand this is also being key. But as you mentioned, our focus today is trying to reach this pan-European acceptance or reach through interoperability. Instant payments, as we say, is going to be the new normal for payments in Europe because this is how the European authorities see this evolution in the payments landscape. And what we're trying to do is connecting all this solution using the same infrastructure.
I'll tell you why I'm very aware of Andorra. I studied in Spain for like 4 years, but I was in Barcelona. Mm-hmm. And when you study in Spain and you're in Barcelona, Catalan is a language that you absolutely have to learn because it's part of like you being able to graduate. And I always ask guys, why do we have to speak Catalan? And I might get some hatred on this front, but I'm never going to use it personally, right? It's a beautiful language, but I had to speak it specifically simply because it was the main language of Andorra. So like I'm very aware of Andorra, but the 40% is actually fascinating. And one of the things, and we're going to actually dive into account-to-account payments because Bizum itself is an account-to-account, right? But when you think about this, like as you said, there were many challenges because cards have been around for so long. So there are so many processes in place defined that they have to refine over time. You guys are kind of going in that direction, and I think dealing with them actually very quickly, like very dynamically. But there will be other things onto why account-to-account and instant payments in general are growing at the pace at which they're growing. So I'm excited, and one of the main concerns that I had personally as a user was account-to-account in general is very local, and cards have made basically the transfer of funds from one bank to another, wherever in the world, like the schemes, possible. But account-to-account had limitations there. And I think that what you're doing and what others are now thinking about and doing is accelerating and making it more of a great solution globally by doing the interoperable thing. So well done on this front. Going into part 2, which is, we touched about what Bizum is, we touched about like what the vision is and everything else. Now let's go on to kind of the psychology behind why account-to-account is becoming so popular, right? So why do speed and convenience overall, right, change how people think about money?
It's a good question. I mean, when Bizum started, it's true that in Spain, cash was predominant, and I think in many occasions it still remains like this, right? But I think that when the people started to realize they could easily access their phone and they can just select a contact from the agenda and just send money in less than 5 seconds, and the other party, you don't need to reach out to them. Okay, did you get the money? Yes or no? So this is also gave a boost of confidence. So it's embedded in the banking app, so it's secure. The other party gets the money in less than 5 seconds, and I only need the phone number of the other person to send money. So I think it's both the convenience and also the availability 24/7 that today consumers demand. So I'm every day connected with my mobile phone. So I'm always in social network, just consuming news, everything. So why not payments should be the same way? So if I want to send money to somebody else, why not using also just the mobile phone number of the colleague, and just in less than 5 seconds, I can do it Sunday evening or Monday in the afternoon.
No, it used to be a problem. I remember I was trying to receive money, and the only way I could back in the day was wires, right, from one country to another. And even locally, like, I mean, in the US, you have, for example, Venmo that works, right? Then you can have it instantly. But then the transfer to your bank actually takes 1 to 3 days. And then you have to pay a premium in order to have it, like, done instantly. So, like, that solution is actually solving for that problem. Cards, yes, as you said, right, is still like a predominant form of payment methods in different regions. But for me, what I've seen and where I think instant payments is going to scale, and speed, yes. Convenience, yes, but it's kind of the reach. We touched about it, but like the ability for a user to instantly, so that's the speed, but very much like at any point in time, just receive and send money, and somebody receiving it right away. Like that, to me, in more regions than just one, because I travel quite a bit, it's hyper important. And you guys are solving for this. And once that is there, the identity component is great. Why? Because I don't have to put my card information, and then you can take my phone number, but without going through the process of identifying myself, you won't be able to use Bizum. So those are things that are great, where with a card, right, you have to tokenize it and things such as. Have you guys, maybe like a little bit different, but when you think about like account-to-account payments, do you think tokenization as a solution, because that works very well for cards, is going to be something that also plays a role in account-to-account, or not really?
Totally. No, I think tokenization is going to be a key aspect for payments, whatever the underlying instrument is. Right. It's a card or it's an account. So as we see it, and we briefly discussed before, so when you think about Bizum Pay, the standalone app for Bizum users to pay, to tap and pay, the tap and pay, So it will be using the same kind of technology. So we will tokenize the payment instrument underlying Bizum, so in this case the account, and it will benefit from the knowledge and know-how and the security that this provides for the consumer. So we will be leveraging all the expertise that our partners have around tokenization for cards, and we will be doing other type of tokenization.
So smart.
Because in the end, the security and the standards are the same at the terminal. So you need to use tokenization, because otherwise it's going to be really hard.
This is so smart, because I've always asked myself, right, like tokenization is at first it used to be like a security measure, and now it's also becoming something where, because you have a token, you can enhance also the experience, because you can add other services. So maybe I'm guessing even for Bizum and account-to-account solutions, there will be valid services around the solution, so that merchants, if they get paid with Bizum, can also like make sure that the payment always goes through. Talking about the users specifically, I think we always have to come back to them. What have you learned from a user behavior perspective, right? Like splitting bills, donating, paying friends. Are there other use cases? Like, what do you think, like, ultimately the users are benefiting from?
For us, it's been key to listen to our users, because when we started, we didn't know the users why the users were performing Bizum transactions. I mean, we didn't know. I mean, right now it's natural that so you go to the movies or you go to the concert and you just split this type of payments. But 19 years ago, we were clueless. So we were asking our consumers. So as we see different trends, so every time the month changes, the amount of the average amount increases. So maybe the rents. So this type of things, and even in weekends, the amount is much lower than in the rest of the week, for example. I don't know why, but this is what happens. This is what happens. So we're trying also to understand how the consumers the relationship they have with money, right? So as you mentioned, donations. We launched this type of service because we understand for a spontaneous donation, it makes sense. So we've been seeing this tremendous success, unfortunately, with the floods in Valencia and with the volcano in Canary Islands. So this gives a good choice for consumers to donate.
Yeah, but you're playing a role, right? Like, unfortunate situations, but the fact that Bizum can help with donations, and honestly, it's pretty lovely. I mean, so like, congrats on this, but I'll let you continue.
No, thank you. No, and what we're seeing also is that Bizum today is aspirational for children that are turning 18, right? So many banks are now offering services to minors. So they, under the approval by the parents, they can enable a very light service of Bizum. So instead of just maybe handing the card, so a prepaid card, for example, because when they turn 12 years old, most of the children in Spain already have a smartphone, right? So why not having Bizum also? Because they share payments with their friends. Maybe, I don't know, they need to withdraw money from an ATM. So just the parents can send money to this account and they can withdraw money with the card, for example. And this is something that we are also experiencing a trend right now. So in the minors space, we are growing a lot. And also, I think since the COVID, also we've seen a lot of increase of users on the elder stage. So 60, 70 years old, people are realizing that they could use Bizum in a very easy way, and now they're confident about the service. So splitting the payments, as we mentioned, so donations. We think also the minors and also growing on this on these age groups on the pyramid. I think these are the trends that we are seeing.
I love it, by the way. Like being able to provide your, I guess, minors an option to have, like money on them, but without giving them full access.
Yeah.
Which is a problem because when I was a little younger, not that I'm terribly old, but like when I was a little younger, and my parents were sending me money, it was like at the time it was sending. I was living in Spain, so they would send me money through wire. But then I had all of the money, and I had to handle and manage that money, but I was not very good at it. Candidly, I would spend most of it within the first and then after that I was like, how am I going to make it?
Yeah.
But so that solution actually is very well thought, and it's because you were probably very user centric. So you thought about, okay, how can the users use this solution, and what is something that I can put in place that will make it easier for users as well in their daily lives, such as to give a kid a credit card.
Yeah.
Right? Even if it's, a prepaid card is a little annoying, but a credit card, if you want to put money on that card again, you have to do a cross account transfer, and that usually takes some time. Where with Bizum, here you go, and they have it there. Can you use Bizum at an ATM today?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
But what you can do is fund the account so they can use a credit card or the card at the ATM.
Because that would be super interesting, right? With the NFC type of solution, you take your Bizum, you put it on whichever bank it is, Santander or whatever, tap it, and then you get money out. Yeah. I'm guessing you guys have thought of this.
We'll look into it,
Diving into something else, right? We talked about things, but another thing as we look at the expansion is, differences in cultural differences. How do those shape how people ultimately send and receive money?
Yeah, I think we touched briefly this point as well. So, as we see it depends on the type of relationship they have with money, right? So, I don't know why, but in some markets it's the common thing to request money from your friend.
Yeah.
But in Spain, it's not common. It's like rude. If I'm requesting you money, it feels bad. It feels bad because I think you are not trustworthy and you will not send in the money ever, right? So I need to make sure of that. No, but in Spain, more than 99% of our P2P transfer, they are push payments. So this means that nobody requests because it's not a friendly type of thing to do with your friends. And another type of things we see is the usage of QR. During COVID, I think many restaurants, they use the QR for you can read and scan and some others started to making this type of solution where you scan the QR and maybe you can also pay directly at your table, right? And also in some markets, they use the QR, for example, for when I don't need to exchange with you my phone number because maybe I don't want to, or because a P2 Pro kind of experience where, I don't know, some sole trader of someone is delivering a service, but they don't have the typical POS with them. So they have this option that they can request money through the QR. But it's like a commercial type of service, so it's a commercial transaction. So we see these are the cultural things that we are finding in Europe. And that's why I said that we listen to our users and we understand what are their needs. Not only for the users, we're talking about the users, but also with the merchants. We are in close contact with the merchants, trying to offer all the type of things that they are demanding.
Oh, it's coming back to one of the examples that you gave, which is, maybe I don't want to give you my phone number. I think that may happen actually for gender reasons as well, right? And so, maybe a guy doesn't want to give it to a girl doesn't want to give it to a guy in a big group, and so you just scan the QR and you make it happen. Now, that's the image that came up to my mind, and I was like, this is actually brilliant. Because if not, if you give your phone number to everybody around, I know I don't want to give my phone number to everybody around, because then, I get pinged all the time. But
people told us that they found the love of their life thanks to Bizum.
No way.
You need the phone number in order to send money. So that's the excuse they found.
That's the
smooth way to get the phone number. So this is true story. We got an account, an email address that we got this usually all the requests from the users, and we found several of these.
I think there should be a campaign or something like With Bizum, you find love. Like, this is so smart. Okay. Coming back to one more topic that you mentioned, though, is the way that consumers, for example, in Spain, right, you say like they don't really request money. I went on holidays right now and basically created what we call a tree count. Maybe, like, I don't know if you know what that is, but it's an app on the which, for everybody, this is an app on the which you put all of your expenses, and then from there you have multiple people, and you can then know who you need to send money to. I know for a fact that if I don't request the money, I'm not going to get it. And usually I'm the one that put my cards down, right? For the points. But like, actually, good question for later, but I know that for me in the US in general, like you would request money. It's not always the case, but sometimes you have to. So it's very interesting, as you mentioned, right? Like in here, they don't, like the cultural differences and how you guys handle them. So actually fascinating. One question actually that popped into my head, a little bit off script, but what about points, loyalty points, reward systems? Like, is Bizum planning to do anything there? Is it already doing something there?
Yeah, we are looking into that because once we manage to have our own channel into the market, maybe we can offer this type of services. Because in the end, adding this additional value service, we think it's a way to compete with the Xpace, Apple Wallet and Google Wallet, right? So it's not only loyalty, it's also ticketing, pass, everything that you found today in this type of wallets. So not the payment, but more things around there. So as I mentioned, I mean, when you already link the payment with the identity, you can put many more things on top of that. So loyalty could be also.
I haven't seen that many account to account, and even you're talking about the Apple Wallet, right? I don't see loyalty kind of being linked to that yet. So this would be actually a great differentiator. When you think about instant payments, can instant payments support or challenge financial responsibility?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, in the end, one of the key trends that we're seeing is that today financial literacy is on everybody's mind. So the earlier you try to ensure that your children are aware of the financial topics, the better, right? So, and I think that the first matter that the children face in their life, it's payments. So they maybe get money from their uncles, from their grandparents, and they need an account. So what do I need? What do I do with the account, right? So maybe I get a card and I start dealing with money. Maybe I can make some savings, or maybe I can spend the money. And how do I spend the money? So I think in the end, finding this link with the with instant payments, because you need to you are aware that every time you send this type of instant payments is very convenient. But you need to make sure that in the end, it's another way to send money to somebody else, and you need to use a secure way to send money to this other person, right? So I think that in the end, we find these links with this type of financial responsibility, and from early ages. So we need to make sure that financial literacy it's there, and we're doing from Bizum everything we can, given our responsibility, which is sharing that payments should be also responsible, and you need to spend on whatever you need in a secure way.
It's again fascinating. Like, I didn't think about the fact that Bizum is helping kind of shape financial knowledge and having like an understanding of money at an early age. I just felt like, you have some guardrails and things like this, as I mentioned, that could be interesting, but no, it's literally helping children better understand the value of money. What is money? What are payments? How can you pay? How does the world works behind? Because most of the people today, right, like, when people ask me, what do I do? Tell them I work in the payment space. They look at me like, what do you mean? And I have to explain to them. And for me, I think once you've gotten into the payment space and start diving deeper and deeper, you realize it's fascinating. Like, I'm a big nerd and I love it because there's so many layers of it, so many different things to look at. But most people, right, like, they have no idea what's happening behind the scenes. And in a way, you're giving them not, of course, the full breakdown, but at least an understanding kind of at high level of the value of money and things around. So love it on this front. Before we wrap up, I guess, two more questions. One I'm going to let you know now because it's gonna be a prediction that I want from you. But before that, what does the future of cashless social payments right, look like, and what role does Bizum play in it?
Well, we understand that in the end, it's a natural thing. I mean, today in the end, electronic or digital transactions are everywhere. So cashless, I think we will get into a cashless society. The thing is that in the end, since we are interconnected and we are part of a bigger market, which is the Eurozone, it's going to be really hard to, at least in Spain, this is my feeling, when we receive almost 100 million people every year, and that cash is going to disappear. I'm not sure about that. Maybe some markets, as I mentioned in the Nordics, where they only have this type of single currency. Yeah. And we're all already seeing that, right? That these type of societies, they even haven't seen cash in many years, and they don't even recognize the notes and the coins anymore, right? So, and even the children, they haven't touched cash in their lives, right? So I think that in the end, in some markets, we need to ensure that cash does not disappear because of inclusion. Because some people in some rural areas, they just prefer to use cash, whatever the reason. But I think we need to ensure that they both coexist. And digital payment means and cash, they need to coexist in this type of society.
What's fascinating is I spent a lot of time in Norway. And when I was there, like, it is impossible to find an ATM.
Yeah.
They associate cash, actually, because I asked around, I was like, wait, why? They associate cash with something that is used for illegal purposes.
Yeah.
And so, like, they're very much against it. And you don't see, like, as much. Like, one time, long story short, I wanted to get into a certain club, and I didn't want to do the line. And so I was like, okay, well, like, the easiest way to do it is you go to the bouncer and you give him cash. Impossible to find anywhere to do that. And I was like, come on now. But that was a different story. To wrap it up, and this has been absolutely lovely, can you give me a little prediction on what's going to happen in instant payments, like a little bit of a wild one, in the next, like, 18 to 24 months?
I think interoperability is going to be one of the key trends in instant payments. So as we see it, this type of cooperation that we are having today with other colleagues in Europe is going to drive attention from many sides of the market. So as I said, maybe markets that are today do not have these type of solutions, they will make a choice. They will make a decision towards that, right? So we will realize that instant payments will become the new normal. And thanks also that our role in this space, we think that also merchants will willing to integrate this type of solutions in the near future. So today, many merchants that still might be reluctant to offer this type of services because still they do not fully compete with other payment means, they will try. They will try, and I've talked to other merchants that are willing to shift at least 30% of the current payment mix just to account-to-account solutions. So we will see a huge trend there, right? So on the merchant space, on the interoperability, building this type of connection with all the peers in Europe. And as I said in the beginning, so instant payments will become mandatory this year for all the PSPs in Europe, and the level playing field with the other type of with other legislations that are happening.
So what I'm hearing is account-to-account payments will become very much something that you use omnichannel-wise in different regions and with different payment methods tied to it.
That's right.
Look, this was lovely. Thank you so much, Fernando, for coming on and having this discussion. Personally, I learned quite a bit about, like, Bizum. Hopefully, like, everyone else did. But a few last words, or good to go?
It's great. So thank you for the invitation, and hope to see you around.
Thank you, guys.